I'm a software engineer for over 10 years now. Back in the days when I was a software engineer, it wasn't as cool as it is today. Mark Zuckerberg didn't exist to make it easy for us geeky people, and Bill Gates wasn't the big thing back then. When I used to say I'm studying software engineering, people will be like, you'll be fixing our cases, ACs? What is it exactly that you do? And it was really difficult to actually explain to my grandpa and grandma that I do websites and I do apps, because they themselves didn't used to actually use any of that. Today I stand in front of you. I'm a friend with my grandma on Facebook and Instagram. So now they do know what an app and an application is. So now it's way easier for you guys. Back in the days, named Rayan, which is a male name, usually, I had to go to Beirut and find a job. And I used to apply for jobs, but they used to call me and say, hello, can we speak with Mr. Rayan? And I'm like, yeah, this is Miss Rayan. What do you want? And they were like, no, we want Rayan, the programmer. And I'm like, yeah, this is Rayan, a female programmer. And they will be like, oh no, sorry, we need a guy. And they will hang up. You would think that will not be the case if you put your gender on your CV. But people don't really read. And it kept on happening. I gave up eventually, and I just put my picture on that CV, and that made it easier. Yeah, it made the call way less, but eventually I landed a job. You graduate, and then you get stuck in that infinite vicious loop. You need experience to get experience, and no one is ready to actually give you the chance to launch your career. Believe me, I've been there. I've been there for a while. But eventually I decided I'm going to go to one of the tech companies in my city and I say, give me a chair, this is all I need. I'm just going to sit there, I'm not going to annoy anyone. Give me any work you want. Paperwork, data entry, testing, I'll do it. Just let me be in a corporate to understand how things go on. And I actually did. For 3 months, I was clicking on that annoying software they have and writing, this scenario crashed, this scenario didn't crash. This scenario crashed, this one didn't. With time, I discovered that they actually store their results of the scenarios in a stupid Excel sheet. At university, I was starting to learn about web development. So I went back to the job that isn't a job because it was totally free, and I was working for 8 hours, doing some testing. And I developed myself, without even asking anyone, a small web platform that actually stores and manages the database of the scenarios and our testing cases. Once I finished, I came to my manager and I said, hey, I'm no longer doing it manually. This is why I'm doing it so fast. I'm doing it using this web platform. And they were like, oh, that little girl in the corner that never leaves the company can actually do stuff. 7 months later, with 7 months of 0 salary, finally, the manager of the programmers department was convinced to move me to his department and become the first girl to join the programmers team out of 7 other guys. From there to standing here today, being honored to talk to all of you, being honored to travel around 10 cities in the last 12, 14 days and talk to all of those amazing people. Why am I here and how I got here? I don't work for Google. This is the first thing I always say. I'm an actual volunteer for Google because this is what I love to do. Salim mentioned the Google Developer Experts program, in which they find people who are good in tech, but they are very passionate about their communities and they are doing some efforts to give back to their communities. They take those people, they walk us through a hell of a process of interviewing, validating our intentions, validating our efforts, validating our actual contribution to the community, and they finally give us a certification to become Google Developer Expert in a specific area. Me, like Mehdi and Omran, we are Google Developer Expert in different technologies. 1 year back, we had 6 Google developer experts in the Middle East or North Africa who were all guys. So every event Google held had 6 guys coming, speaking to the crowd, and then leaving. Speaking about women empowerment, Women Tech Makers program, but having no one there to actually present what it is. And then I found out about the GDG, and I applied to start my own GDG, just like Lana, in Lebanon, which was the first GDG in the country. Few months later, when they saw the events and everything I'm doing, I was recommended for the GDE program. And after a lot of interviews, writing every single contribution I made to the community, which is more than 24 pages, I eventually, 3 months earlier, became the first Google developer female expert in the Middle East and North Africa. And I took a break from every job I have, and I decided for 2-3 months, all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna travel the region, speaking at those events, because I was just leaving a job, moving to another job. I'm just gonna put everything on hold and speak at all of those cities to show the women in those cities that it is possible, that there are women in tech who are good in what they do, and they are from our region. I hope and aspire to inspire people. And this is what I do. Back to our topic, think business, catch like a designer, and code like a geek. Why did I decide to deliver this? I worked in startups, I worked in big companies, small companies. I was a student one day, which worked with doctors on projects and deliveries. And I always noticed one thing. This. Who have ever seen this picture before? That's cool. So, as students, you're delivering a senior project or any coding project. You agree with your doctor, you're gonna implement feature A, feature B. And then you decide we're not gonna work on C and D. You go home, and for 1 week, you lose all of your sleep, and you're working on feature A and feature B. 1 week later, you come and you are so proud of what you did, and you showcase your project to the doctor, and she says, why didn't you deploy C and D? And you're like, we agreed I'm gonna deploy an A and B. And she's like, no, I don't want A and B, I want C and D. You go home, you lose another 2 weeks of sleep to change that. And you come back for her to say, oh, I want A and B, I don't like this. But this is how it was. You asked me to change it like that. And she's like, no, it doesn't work. And this is actually how things work, even in big companies. This is not a struggle for only you students. The client comes and actually explains what he thinks he wants. And then the project leader will understand it in a way. The analyst will design it in another way. And this is how the programmer will write it. Beta testing, they miss probably half of it. And the first bill comes as big as this chair. Documentation, who has time for that? I'm here to write code, I'm not here to write documents, right? Wrong. Operations, our lovely IT people who always forget the libraries we ask them to install. And then another bill will reach the customers that's that big. Support, I launch it and I run for my life. I have nothing to do with that project anymore. Marketing is so obscure, but eventually what the client actually needed was as simple as this swing. But we lost all of this time, all of this money, and all of this energy. And who's the one who got blamed for all of this? Who do you think is the one who gets blamed? Who? Programmers. My dear designers, who's the one who always messes up your work? Of course. We are the one who gets blamed for everything. For the business, for the marketing, for the design, for the testing, for the implementation. But is that true? Are we the one who should be blamed? We definitely will always say no, and we'll always blame it on the client who changes his mind all the time, the PR who never understand technical, and the designers who are too ambitious, and technically, it cannot be done. Whenever we get a design, a very good design, this is the first sentence you will hear from a programmer. Technically, this will not work. Oh my dear, technically we have self-driving cars somewhere in the world. So this is small bar animating, it definitely can be done. Let's see how to solve this. Believe me, I've worked for over 10 years. I've seen this on every single level of life. I've worked as a freelancer, and this is the big struggle, believe me. Especially when you're working with absolutely non-technical clients who've seen one app who've seen Facebook, and then suddenly they want exactly like Facebook. And whenever Facebook updates, they want exactly the same update. One time I delivered an app which does like talabat. Are you familiar with talabat? It was like exactly like talabat. This is what they said. We want something like talabat. And it was designed like Facebook, when back then, the menu of Facebook was horizontal. And then the lovely people of Facebook updated the entire app and they changed the menu to be like left scrolling. Anyone here knows Android development? So the client will come and say, I love the app, but one thing, you see this menu that you have horizontally? Just click rotate left and have it vertically. Do you know what this means in Android? Every single function I used, I have to rewrite it, because this is a totally different concept. We moved from activity to an actual fragment, which means a complete rewrite. Should I blame my client for not understanding what an activity and a fragment is? No, I shouldn't, because it's not his job to understand. Who I should blame is myself. And here, I open to my next section, which is start with yourself. I don't care what's your position in the company or the project you are in. Take ownership and start with yourself, because you can drive the change. Whenever you are asked to develop anything, the first thing you do is take ownership of that feature or project. Because if that project succeeds, you're the one succeeding. You're the one who's gonna put this on their resume and brag about it for the rest of your life. You're the one who's gonna use that project to land a new job. So, let's take an example. Do you have Uber and Kareem here? Kareem? Okay. So let's take Kareem as an example and move forward in this exercise. Let's say we came up with the idea of having Kareem. Who can tell me what is the exact goal of Kareem? Go ahead.
Transport people at a cheaper price than taxis using apps.
Amazing. I'm not gonna even have to ask another person. Usually the answers I get are like, to reduce the traffic, for the environment, to get faster. And all of those are not actually goals. Reducing traffic by itself, is this an ultimate goal for us? No, it's just a mean for us to reach our final goal, which is to reach our destination faster. I don't care if there are traffic in San Francisco where I'm going to Bahrain, right? Because I'm not gonna use that road. I don't care about traffic there. I care about traffic from point A to point B, right? So, in order to specify a goal for any feature, what you need to do is start writing the problems and coming up with a statement that's related to an actual human need. If it's not related to an actual need, you didn't yet reach the goal. And try to exercise this with existing project and try to find out what is their goal. After you find out the goal, this is when you start thinking, who are the users? Who will use this app or this product? Who will use Kareem before Kareem came up? Students going to school. In Saudi Arabia, I got answers like women who want to go places, but they don't have a special driver. People who want to go to work. People who don't even like driving. But at the same time, people who have cars and they want to make extra money. So after we define our goal, the next step is to define all our users. And we just start writing them and writing and writing. After we write all the people who might use our application, we start grouping them into roles. And this is when we stop everything and we Google it. Why we Google it? Because if I'm thinking about one idea, there must be at least 100 people who are thinking about the same idea somewhere out there in the world. Back to Kareem. When they decided to launch Kareem, they said, oh, we need transportation method using an app, we need a better way for transportation. And they go and they Google it, and they found Uber and Lyft. And they decide, oh, there's Uber and there's Lyft. We have three options now. We either say, oh, there's already a solution. Let me close this entire thing and go home. This is one option. Second option is, let's just bring Uber, open a franchise here, and just make money out of it. But no, they actually decided to launch. Why? Because they saw they can provide an added value. If you have a need that is not met by the existing solutions, then the existing solution have a problem. There is something missing in the existing solution, and this is why you still have this need. And this is where you start working on that. You start finding out why this solution didn't work for you, why this solution didn't actually reach you. You find this gap, and you say, I'm gonna provide a solution that will actually bridge that gap. Any idea what Kareem had to offer as an added value? Uber had that. So, cash, exactly. The problem about bringing a solution that's made somewhere in the world to our regions is it actually do not accumulate to our needs. So if I brought Uber just like it is to my region, people here, not everyone have credit cards, not everyone have an actual bank account. And even the one who does, they will not feel secure enough to put it on an app, right? And this is when Kareem actually headed, is to provide cash. And this is what it allowed them to succeed in the region. And making it harder for Uber now to penetrate the region. So that's our second thing. Find the value proposition, your added value, and work on that. After you do this, you start taking notes of everything. You take note of your research, you take note of your users, you take note of everything you hear from anyone commenting on your idea. And believe me, taking notes is gonna be very useful in this. And then we go back to our users and we start defining the roles. For Kareem, we have the drivers and we have the riders. Which one is the main role? Riders. Anyone thinks otherwise? If I have riders but I don't have drivers, what will the rider do? If I have driver but I don't have rider, what will the driver do? So it's like the egg and chicken loop, right? Well, people would say both of them are main users. Actually, no. When we talk about design thinking, you have to pick only one. And you have to focus all your resources, all your efforts on this one role and elaborate on it. It doesn't have to be this role forever. You can say from now till 5 years, my go-to-market strategy is to actually focus on role 1. 3 years later, once I build a good pool of riders, I'm gonna start focusing more on the drivers. And Kareem and Uber decided they're gonna focus first on the riders. Because if the rider don't get a good experience from the app, they will never come back. And believe me, for mobile app user, if you lose the users from the first time, they will never come back and reinstall your app. So we have to always maintain our users. After we define the role, choose our main person, we create our persona. Who knows what a persona means? Amazing. So back, 3 years back, I decided to do a crazy thing, which is I quit my job completely, which was a very good job in an international company back in Lebanon, And I was working from home, very flexible hours. And I decided, hey, I'm bored. I'm just gonna quit my job. I have always promised myself that one day I'm gonna make the life of the new generation easier to enter the job market. And I started my own startup, which is Bamboo Geeks, in which I aim to actually train people after they graduate in 6 weeks to make them hireable by really good companies. And then I put them in companies so they can start a career easy. When I built my persona, it was like this. Adam is a waiter in a burger restaurant. 6 months ago, Adam graduated from computer science with the highest GPA in his class. He had a lot of ambition, and he thought the minute he graduated, he gonna land a job in the best company. He built his CV. He applied for only one company because he was sure he's gonna get the job. Few weeks later, when he didn't even get a call back, he started applying to every single company in the city. Few months later, Adam finished school, didn't even get a call back for his resume. He had to go and start working in a burger restaurant as a waiter. He tried freelancing, that didn't work for him. Few months forward, he's still working in a burger restaurant. He gave up on all his dreams of becoming a programmer, and he just thought, I'm gonna settle as a waiter. My next dream is just to become a manager in this restaurant, and I'm gonna forget all about my degree. What do you feel now? What do you feel? Depressed. So we were on a normal level, and then I started taking you through the story. I introduced you to Adam, who has a personality, who has a name, who has a face now in your head. You started drawing that personality. And then I'm saying stuff that's related to you because I know all of you are students. And I know all of you are looking forward to graduate and so focused on your GPA. And the first thing you want is to land a job because I know exactly who my audience are. And this is why I asked the question in the first place. Once he graduated, which is what you all are looking for anxiously, I put you in a very depressed moment. I got your empathy now. I got your attention. And then I come and say this. Adam heard of a program called Bamboo Geeks that provides a boot camp and promised his graduate of a job. Adam joined the program. 6 weeks later, he graduated. He landed a job in the first company he applied for. He got a call from 6 different companies who he reapplied for using his new CV. And now he's in a lead position in that company. And he was able to actually acquire all his colleagues from Bamboo Geeks because his manager was so impressed with his job. And he became only a customer in that restaurant of burger. What do you feel now? Happy, inspired. I want to become like that. I want to have that, right? And this is motivated. And this is what a persona is. A persona is someone you relate to, you feel with. And this is what marketing people do. Create a persona that we can relate to, and that showcases the problem, the depression that the problem causes, and then how the solution moved that depression into a success. And this is how you build your persona. Anyone interested in joining startup weekends, hackathons, competitions, or having a startup in the room? Guys, this is how you win the pitch. This is the only way you're gonna win a pitch. If you are in a competition, if you don't build a story that the judges will relate to, you're never gonna win. If you do what I did back 7 years ago and you go on stage and start talking, I use this programming library and I use the latest action script coding, the judge will fall asleep in 2 seconds. Don't care about the technology, go there and just build a story. And later on, I'm gonna show you another trick that will make you win the pitch. So we built our persona, now we understand our user. We start listing the features of the app or the project. We actually sit with our client, we sit with our manager, with the designers, with everyone, and we say we're gonna list 100 features. 100 features, that's a lot, right? My fellow programmers will say I'm crazy because I'm bringing more work to them. No, we actually list 100 features. After we list 100 features, we start also grouping those features in related themes. And then we say, let's just give them numbers from 1 to 100. And I show this to the client who came up with all those ideas, and I say to the clients, do you see those 100 features? And believe me, the client will be off the roof, like, so happy. My app will take people to Mars. My app will actually make the sun turn differently. And then I'm gonna say to the client, I'm gonna say to the entire team, do you see all of those? I'm gonna only develop 3 features out of them. And this is when the client actually have a heart attack. Literally. Because they think the only way their application will be launched is with all the 100 features. Who used to use social media before 2007? Which platform? Before Facebook. MySpace, MSN, MIRC, Yahoo, High Five. Who uses any of those today? Exactly. What do you use? You still use IRC? I asked them a few days back if it exists. I wasn't sure it's still there, to be honest. So what happened? What happened? Facebook happened. If we look at Facebook today, it has albums, it has tags. You can even, if something happened, la samah Allah, in the country, you can check yourself safe. It has developer apps. It has face recognition where they can even, like any person, upload a picture. They can recommend that you get tagged in this picture because it looks like you. This is a lot, right? So Facebook CEO is now sitting with 45 Congress people. If Mark decided back then, I'm not gonna launch Facebook unless I have face recognition, artificial intelligence, machine learning, all these apps, checking in, albums. Believe me, you wouldn't even know what Facebook is today. Back in 2007, how did Facebook look like? Messy, scrambled timeline, where you just post the stuff and you never find them again. It didn't even have a proper profile, not even albums. They decided, what are the minimal features that our application will never go live without? What's the minimum? Is to allow people to post stuff. And that's it. Once they got that, they launched. Because I'm not gonna spend 2 years in a dark room developing for what I think the customer wants, and then launch and fail dramatically. I need to fail smartly. I need to fail fast. So I develop the minimum and I launch. After launching, I start understanding my customers. And this is what Facebook did. Once they noticed that people are uploading like multiple pictures together, they understood that people now need albums. And they decided to prioritize this feature, bring it up in the Scrum, and develop it. Once they understand the customer, they build based on the customer needs. And this is how you get related to your customer. Some feature you might think is like the best thing ever, but no one will ever use. So understand your feature, build this data, go back to your lab, develop, and just come back. And I hear this so many times when I'm mentoring in competitions or judging in competitions, that people will come to the stage and say, I'm gonna make this website that does X, Y, Z, and I'm gonna sit home and make money out of it. And then I'm gonna not do anything. This is like the most unrealistic, if I'm not gonna say the stupidest, the unrealistic thing you will ever hear. If you think a website is something you develop once, you deploy, and that's it, you're totally wrong. You don't know even what development is about. Because with all the technologies coming up, You're gonna need to update, you're gonna need to maintain, you're gonna need to pivot and change based on your users. Today we have machine learning, we have the big data, we need to take advantage of all of this. We cannot just lay down and let the website roll. There's not a single website that does this now. And this is what Salim talked about. After we finish this, we document and validate. And here, we remove the hat of the business person and we wear the second hat. Designers, my fellow designers in the room. Do you see this notebook? This is how all my notebooks look like, literally. And I'm a very bad person who draws. Believe me, it's like really ugly. You don't even want to see it. But do I say, I don't draw, therefore I don't sketch, therefore I only code? No. We actually do those sessions very intensively. We sit with whoever is making decision, with the client, with the PM, and we start asking those questions. So, okay, we understand the application, and we always pretend like we all understand the application, because every single one of us in the room understand their own version of the application. But to bring all of those versions into one, we started drawing. I start asking you, when I open the app, what do I see? What's the first thing you see when you open an app? Logo, splash screen for the Android people. Right? And I start actually drawing a splash screen, an Android logo. 5 seconds later, this will take me to the second page. What's the second page? I'm a new user. What's the second page? So people will say homepage, registration, and login. How do we decide? Usually, when they give you a feature and you're the programmer, you go ahead and in this like dark lab of yours, you take the decision, you code it, and you launch it, and that's it. Right? Nope. We sit and we discuss, and we say, we don't know what's the right answer. Let's try uninstalling Facebook and installing it again. Let's try uninstalling and installing new apps and see what's the common between them. Let's see what feels better for us. Let's check what is the best practices and actually implement that. And then we draw the login page. But we have a sign up button inside of it. We draw it exactly with all details. Login, username, password, login button. Forget password link, sign up button. Right? What's the second page? The second page actually depends on what you just clicked, right? If you clicked on forget password, you're gonna go somewhere. If you clicked on login, you're gonna go to the home page, and if you click on register, you're gonna go to another place, right? So, in order to map our path, I'm gonna number the pages. This sign in page will be number 1. This is the name I'm gonna give it. And then I'm gonna find every single clickable item. So button login, I'm gonna number it 1. Forget password is gonna be number 2, and sign up is gonna be number 3. When I click on the login, I'm gonna go where? To the home. So I draw a home, and then I draw the content of it. And then I draw the forget password page, and I draw the actual sign up page. Usually what they do is they put arrows from every button to the new page. This is okay if your entire app is 4 pages. But imagine if you have so many buttons that go back to the page and then goes and come back. Can you imagine the amount of arrows and lines you're gonna have in this sketch? This is not actually practical. So with time, I developed this tricky method. Page 1, it had 3 buttons, which is sign up, forget password, and sign in, right? Instead of numbering them, button 1, button 2, button 3, I number them button, page number, which is 1, dot, button number. So sign in now is numbered 1.1. Forget password is 1.2. Sign up is 1.3. When I click on sign in, the 1.1 will lead to the home page. And now I name the home page as 1.1, which means it's coming from the button labeled 1.1. Same for the forget password, it's gonna be 1.2. Same for the sign up, it's gonna be 1.3. In the sign up, the button will be numbered 1.3.1, and so on and forth. And this is the way where you don't draw any lines, any arrows, and you'll be able to track the pages across the flow. You don't make this sketch for the entire app, you make it by feature. Okay? So we take one feature and we draw the entire sketch to finish a complete feature. And after we do all of this sketch, we use one of my favorite tools, Envision. You take those drawings that you just made, you insert them in this tool, and it will actually create the complete flow of the application. You can insert the image you just draw, and then highlight the buttons, and say whenever the user clicks on this area, take them to the next image, take them to that image. Eventually, it will give you a URL that you can share with people. Once they open the URL, it will look like an actual app on their phone. They click on stuff, they will think they are clicking on buttons when they are just clicking on an image, and it will actually take them from one page to another. And the pitching, guys, this is what you do in a pitch. You don't actually deploy the app. You go on stage, you build this, it will take not much of a time. You do the prototype, you have a link, create a QR code, go on stage instead of having 10 decks in 30 seconds for a pitch. Tell the judges, can you please scan that QR code? Once they do, they will have an app open in their faces. And I was like, I'm gonna walk you through my app. This is what we deliver. And now, the judges will move from an abstract idea, which they don't understand at all, which is very technical, to an actual concrete something that they can see in front of them. And people will remember you. And again, you're gonna find that in every slide I have two sentences, document and validate. After every meeting, write down everything you agreed on. And here's a little trick about how I do meetings. And believe me, this came after a lot of conflicts, tears, screaming, and hours of crying. When I first joined the job, I used to cry at every conflict there. And then I developed a thick skin and I don't care anymore. So what I do in meeting is the following. First, when the meeting starts, I say, let's agree what's the goal of this meeting. Because I don't want to end up wasting 4 hours seeing pictures of their vacation last week. Because this is what happens, especially in our region, to be honest. 2, set a time, which is, this meeting is for 2 hours. If we have more than 2 people in the meeting, choose one person who's gonna be the time holder and someone who will take the meeting minutes. Meeting minutes means the note. And this person, especially the person holding time, should not be the same person in every meeting. Because otherwise, we're gonna end up all hating that person. It should be a different person every time, because it's gonna be a shared responsibility. I'm gonna respect that person because I'm gonna be that person in the next meeting. And we all understand that this is an actual safe zone. He's not doing it, he's not keeping track of time because he hates us. He's doing it because we wanna be actually productive. And then I take notes across the meeting. At the end of the meeting, there's the client, there's the designer, the business people, the marketing people. And I, the programmer, tell them, oh, so the client, you need to give me all the pictures. Designers, you need to give me the design of the actual gallery I'm gonna program. And after I got those two, I need 6 days to actually implement a full library, gallery, to be online. Sounds good? And we agree, assuming the meeting is on the 1st, we agree on the 6th, we're gonna meet again, and I'm gonna showcase a full library with the content. That's cool. This is what actually happens. I agreed with them that directly after the meeting, they will send me the stuff. The designer sent me the designs on the 5th at 1 a.m. And the client sends me the actual pictures half an hour before the meeting. And they all come at 9 a.m., second day. Yeah, where is the library? And I'm like, I said I need 6 days after I got the materials. You didn't send me anything. And then another discussion comes with like, you didn't ask for it, we thought you're working on something else. And I get blamed eventually. So here's the trick. After the meeting, you start an email with everything you discussed. And you wrap the meeting by actually talking about it. You say, in this meeting, we talked about X and Y and Z. And you tell the person in front of you, you don't tell them, you said that, you wanted that. No. We take the you out of it, and we always talk about the I. I heard. I understood that you want me to do that. Did I understood you correctly? If we do that, we eliminate the defensive mode. Now we are on the same team. We are not fighting. And I rephrase everything I heard to make sure we are on the same page. And once I rephrase, they confirm or they clarify. And I start writing all of that. Second section of this meeting minutes will be what I'm waiting from them. And I start saying, A, from designer on the 1st. B, from marketing on the 3rd. Okay? My favorite part, the 3rd part. What's expected from my end, the programmer. So if I got delivered the materials on the 3rd, I need 6 days. So I should say normally, the gallery should be done on the 9th, right? On the 9th. I don't actually write that. I use the fact that I'm a programmer and I deal with variable, and I define a variable that's actually the date of the designer and the date of the marketing person. And I say my deadline is point A plus 6 days. I don't set an actual date for mine because it's dependent on something else. And now the client, who barely reads the email and only read deadlines and the emails, will not see a date next to my name. They will see the designer's date plus 6. They will see their own date plus a 3. And this is how I save myself. Next meeting, we start the meeting by opening that email, rereading everything, and this is how we start. And after every single meeting, this is exactly what we do. Who's familiar with GitHub? Let me just say what is GitHub. Google is a huge company. Do you think when all the programmers are working together, they have a flash drive where they put the code and they take it from the US to London and then to Germany to share the code between each other? Do you think this is how it goes? Of course not. Now back to our project at university where we have 3 people working on this simple project that we're gonna deliver to the doctor. And eventually we end up fighting between each other, going back to our doctor, can I make the senior project alone, please? And worse than that, I've seen people who do this in university. They graduate, they come to the job, and they brag about it in the interview. I did my senior project by myself. And this is when we completely remove this person out of the candidates pool. We don't even consider them. Because this proves one thing, you cannot work in a team. You're unable to communicate. You're unable to work with people. And there is no one company in the world where you can work by your own, unless you develop your own thing and sit in a dark room and never talk with anyone. And that also will not work. But that's another story. So if you feel you have a conflict with the people you're working on in the team in university, be happy. This is an exercise for you to actually flex the muscle of teamwork. If I go to the gym and I'm lifting weight or I'm doing exercise and I'm not feeling anything, no pain, nothing, does that mean I'm doing anything? I'm developing any muscles? I'm getting any strength? No. It should hurt at university. If it doesn't hurt, there's something wrong. It should hurt in teamwork and in project. If it doesn't, you're not actually building skills. And when you see a big conflict, be happy. God sent you a big exercise. And change your mindset and say, let me see how I'm gonna solve this conflict. I worked for over a year in a company where my team didn't used to say hello when I come to the office. I used to come in, say good morning, and they will turn their faces. Literally. I used to hear them talking about me whenever I'm in the second room. And for 2 months, I had to actually live with that, not understanding what was going on. And everyone around me was like, quit that job, you don't need it. And I'm like, no, I need to actually understand what's wrong. And eventually, I actually called everyone for a meeting, and I sat with them and I said, what's wrong? Why do you hate me? Literally. I swear. And this is not very normal in Lebanon. People will act to love each other no matter what. So I actually called everyone for a meeting, and I said, why do you hate me? And they said, we hate you because you came to the company and you brought a versioning tool that we are all supposed to work on, and you are training us on that, and we hate it. And we don't know how to deal with it, therefore we hate you. You brought it to the company. When in reality, I was hired to implement this solution. I didn't bring it. The manager brought it. So I explained that, and I said, let's sit together and let's find another tool that will be easier for you. We actually changed 4 tools in 2 months. I had to stop everything I do, and I just sit with every single people when they are using the Git until they got used to it. And they started saying good morning and hi and hello. But I'm not saying it didn't take a lot of my energy. I lost a lot of weight during that year, believe me. And it was really tough. My grades in school, I was studying at the same time. My grades in the school were going really down because of it. Because I was investing all my energy and all my time in this. But now I know, if you put me in any team, no matter how hard that is, I have this muscle that I have flexed for over a year that I'm gonna use. So stretch yourself whenever you feel uncomfortable, don't just hide out. Go and seek that challenge and work in a team and put on your resume that you worked in a team. And in university, it's not too early to use GitHub. It's a place where you put the code and people have access to it. Who uses Google Drive or any type of shared document or shared file? It's the same concept but for code. It keeps versions and it allows multiple people to access it. If you're working on a project, put it on GitHub from now. No matter how silly the function is, how small the project is. If I go back 10 years ago and I give myself one advice, it will be use GitHub. I regret this a lot now because I know, even going through my Google Developer Expert interviews, that was a big block. They kept asking, why you don't have a very established GitHub profile? And it's because no one told me it's important. All the companies I worked in had their own servers. I never put anything online. So I advise you to actually do that. And this is how you geek correctly. With this, I wrap my presentation, and thank you very much.